What's poppin', y'all? It seems like, I don't know how he did it, but Jay-Z's managed to upset everyone across the board with his most recent pick for the Super Bowl halftime show. And that is none other than Bad Bunny, who's supposed to perform at the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show. And I think this is such a slap in the face to Jay-Z stans because, keep in mind, they were trying to cover up and Jay-Z was trying to stay a little bit further away from the fact that he chose Kendrick Lamar for the Super Bowl halftime show in 2025. That was somewhat of a controversial pick because people felt like Lil Wayne was going to get chosen or just anybody else. They felt like Kendrick Lamar had not yet risen to the level that would merit performing at the Super Bowl. And funny enough, it did end up being the biggest Super Bowl halftime show ever. I think the most viewed one ever. And I thought that Kendrick Lamar put on a great performance. Did I think he should have been chosen? I would not have picked him, but goes to show by all numbers, metrics, talk, etc., he did an excellent job and it was the biggest. And by he, not only Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z did a good job picking him. And that's even with a heavy heart, as I, being one of the biggest, well, actually, no, I am not one of the biggest Lil Wayne supporters. Then for sure, there are people that know way more about Wayne than me. Lil Wayne being my favorite rapper ever, I even said, yeah, I think he should have gotten it. It would have made sense for Louisiana, but Lil Wayne is hit or miss with his performances. So we don't know for sure. But regardless, Jay-Z didn't say much. And people were saying, nah, Roc Nation doesn't have the final choice. They can just suggest. But here, it clearly says that he did it. And it says right here in the Jay-Z on this BET post, it says Jay-Z personally called Bad Bunny to deliver the news that he will headline the Super Bowl halftime show. And that was Bad Bunny saying that he called him. And then he says, and I quote, "I remember that after the call, I just did like 100 pull-ups. I didn't need more pre-workout. It was very special." And then going on to say, a quote from Jay-Z, "What Benito has done and continues to do for Puerto Rico is truly inspiring. We are honored to have him on the world's biggest stage." That's not the world's biggest stage. FIFA World Cup is the biggest stage. That's America's biggest stage, one of the biggest stages of the world, but is not the world's biggest stage. This is what infuriates me about Americans. Americans just be like, nah, this is the world champion. Dog, the league is only in America. What do you mean world champion? Or this is the NBA YoungBoy's the biggest artist in the world. No, he's not. What are you talking? Or the biggest rapper in the world. No, he's not. What are you talking about? Now, in the U.S., yeah, for sure. Well, he's got the most lit tour right now. But yeah, it's just anything that's the biggest in America, they just seem to translate it over to the rest of the world when that's not the case whatsoever. Especially not with NFL, American football. But here, I found this one quite surprising because if we're going to talk about the last couple of picks that Jay-Z has had since Roc Nation took on the role of working with NFL, let's just keep it a buck. This is 100% a Jay-Z pick. When is you think Roger Goodell is like, yo, what's going on with that Bad Bunny guy? There's that artist out of Puerto Rico. Hell nah, man. And what's funny is that a bunch of hip-hop fans are even saying, I've never even heard, or they've never even listened to a Bad Bunny song or heard a Bad Bunny song. But if we're talking about who has been put on the Super Bowl stage since Jay-Z got in there, let's just start 2021, right? There was The Weeknd, excellent pick. Even though living legend, yeah, excellent pick. 2022, and that was in LA. You had Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Mary J. Blige. It was mainly Dre and friends, but even Kendrick Lamar got brought out, and 50 Cent, of course, and Anderson .Paak. It was like an aftermath reunion. Then you had Rihanna in 2023. Makes perfect sense, right? Rihanna, superstar, legitimately one of the biggest artists in the world. And then in 2024, you had Usher, and Usher brought out Usher, R&B legend, also pop legend, but of course he's R&B, but he just became so big that he transcended into pop. Alicia Keys, Jermaine Dupri, right, and other people. I think Ludacris was brought out too. I'm not 100% certain about that, but I feel like he was. I just like to see Luda win. Luda's one of those people, like, can you even say a bad thing about Ludacris? Luda's just brought us laughs, good music, good raps. The good raps he gets the least credit for, which frankly, it disgusts me, and I also get disgusted by myself for not revisiting Ludacris albums. Every time I listen to a Ludacris album, I'm like, yo, why have I not listened to this in 5 years? This is amazing. So yeah, as much as I'm disgusted by you guys for not giving Ludacris enough credit, I give myself the lashings and I force myself to listen to some Ludacris, which always ends up being a great experience. So I suggest that you get a dosage of a Ludacris album, pick any of them pre-2013, just because I haven't listened to any post-2013, and listen to it for this weekend's homework. And then we had Kendrick Lamar for 2025 with SZA. SZA, if he just threw her on there without Kendrick, but it was mainly Kendrick Lamar. So you would think, how does Bad Bunny fit into this? That's what really weirded me out. And it's the language thing too. And this is one thing I do got to say is Bad Bunny, he went on SNL. And while he was on SNL, in the monologue, keep in mind, Saturday Night Live, it's supposed to be parody. It's supposed to try to be funny. And then during his SNL monologue, he said, "You've got 4 months to learn Spanish if you want to understand my lyrics at the Super Bowl." And people were inflamed by this. The guy's dropping a joke. It's a complete joke. But... and this is after, by the way, after he says, like, yo, the people were so happy, even Fox News loved it. And they did a bunch of clippings of Fox News anchors that talked about the Bad Bunny situation, but they clipped each word to make it say, oh, Bad Bunny is my favorite artist. But here, I do think this was not a good joke to make, because a lot of people don't hate Bad Bunny. They don't dislike Bad Bunny, but they're saying, dog, why would there be a Spanish... a person, not a Spanish-speaking person, a person whose catalog is in Spanish entirely, performing at the Super Bowl where damn near everybody speaks English, or the majority of people don't speak Spanish. If you had to pick any sport that had the least amount of bilingual people, wouldn't it be the NFL? And this is also another thing, right? Like the world, I think it was Zach Bryan that just broke the record of the most people in a show, is like 112,000 people or something like that. And he performed outdoors. That guy, his fans are probably NFL fans. When it comes to Bad Bunny, his fans, I don't know how many of them like the NFL. And Bad Bunny also declared that he was not going on tour anymore in the U.S. because he was, and this is the reason that he gave, because he was scared that ICE, which is the people that work with immigration and customs, I think it's immigration and customs enforcement. I don't know. I might have that wrong. But they're the people that pick people up that are in the U.S. illegally. And he says that, yeah, he didn't want them camping outside of shows, and he didn't want anyone to get deported because of him. Because whilst he is Puerto Rican, and Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, he does have a lot of fans from Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala, like all of these other countries where they may have crossed into the border illegally, I guess. So then they were like, wait, why are you performing at the Super Bowl then? And that's a good question, because first of all, if somebody is illegally here in the U.S. and they're able to afford both travel and tickets into the Super Bowl, now I'm going to keep it a stack. They might have to ship you out of here, because that not only is that crazy levels of hubris, but you clearly got enough bread that you wasn't struggling over where you came from, especially if you don't got paperwork here. So yeah, you might have to go back. You already living like a king over there. People in America can't even afford their Super Bowl tickets. But even 50 Cent had some backlash towards this. And he said, I respect what he's doing, but telling Americans to learn Spanish for the Super Bowl? Bro, this ain't Duolingo halftime. Last I checked, music's supposed to bring people together, not make us download Rosetta Stone. And this is where I think 50 Cent's got a good point. The bringing together part. Music brings people together. The Super Bowl brings people together. It's the highlight of many people's year. Bad Bunny, the comments that he made, and this goes for Jay-Z first. Jay-Z's decision here is not one that's going to bring people together, because he knows that a majority of this fan base and audience, they want to have an English speaker, an English singer. It doesn't even have to be American. It could be a British, it could be a Scottish, it could be an Australian, even though the majority of the biggest artists from these other countries that I just named, they sing in an American accent. So it still feels like it's a Canadian even, right? The Weeknd was Canadian and he performed. They just want somebody that they can understand, that they can somewhat relate to. So he knows that a large majority is going to oppose this decision. And Bad Bunny is not dumb. He also knows that. So for Bad Bunny to make that type of joke, he knows it's going to inflame people even further. Because before he even hopped on SNL, the usual suspects were hating on it. And they were like, yo, this guy's... They just had their own excuses, which I wish I could fight against what they were saying. But even I look at it as like, what were you thinking with this decision? I just don't get it. And the reason why I'm not as critical of it is, are we just choosing the biggest artist? Because at that point, you might as well just throw BTS on there, because BTS is just as big, if not bigger than Bad Bunny at that point, because he's performing in Spanish. They've probably got more songs in English than he does. But regardless, they're performing in Korean. They're also a gigantic group. They're superstars globally. So what makes him choose Bad Bunny over them? And this is what makes me feel like Jay-Z might have something going on in Puerto Rico. because Jay-Z will never make a decision that does not support his self-interest in some capacity. It has to support his self-interest. So he's got something going on. If something comes out in Puerto Rico in the near future, do not be surprised. Or if we suddenly see him getting managed by Roc Nation, and by him I mean Bad Bunny, do not be surprised. And I just want to see who we get after this, because it was the deal that they were supposed to have 4 or 5 years, and Kendrick Lamar was supposed to be the last one, but I think they re-upped with Roc Nation for them to continue running the halftime show. And we're going to see a lot of, if Bad Bunny brings the anti-ICE sentiment and anything political into this, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback and hate, which some would say it's unjustified. Like, for example, Kendrick Lamar brought a political element to it, but Kendrick Lamar is, number one, an English speaker. Number two, he was born in the U.S., born in the 50 states, within the 50 states, because people will suddenly turn into technical about all of this. And his was a bit subtle. He doesn't get too political, other than talking about, right, like historical things. Bad Bunny is talking about a topic that a lot of people feel a type of way about, which is the whole topic on immigration. And it's a very hot topic and has been increasing as a hot topic for the past 5 years. Since 2020, it's exploded and people have strong opinions about it. And that's something divisive to introduce, especially when Bad Bunny is talking the way he's talking. Even though I said it's a joke, I take it as a joke, but a lot of people don't. And you got to consider people when you said it yourself, as Jay-Z said, the biggest stage in the world, even though it's not. But he knows what that decision entails and the expectation that people have on it. But I'm not going to lie, me personally, I'm just sitting back, kicking and watching. I'm just going to be entertained. I'm more entertained by the reactions to this and what the reactions will be than I am whoever the performer is. Frankly, I don't even really care too much about the performer. I did care when it was like hip hop people, and that's what I was also thinking, because it's in the Levi Stadium, which is where I believe it's in the Bay Area. I think that's where the San Francisco 49ers play. I'm not even a casual at NFL football stuff. I'm just a rando. I don't know anything. So if I got that right, I deserve a pat on the back. A digital one. Like, keep your actual hands off of me. So who could he have brought on from the Bay Area? And it doesn't have to be from that location, but who could he have brought on from the Bay Area, not even hip-hop related, that would put on a great performance? That's the reason why I don't have too much to say, is because I can't really think of alternatives to perform. Like, who's going to perform? You're going to throw Sabrina Carpenter? I swear I could not even finish that sentence. Yeah, like, are you going to throw Sabrina Carpenter on there? That's the only person I could think of that's really big. Taylor Swift even talked about the Super Bowl and her not wanting to perform at the Super Bowl because of her man and the fact that he performed. She gave a good excuse or reasoning behind it, but how much of that is branding? But yeah, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Do you like this choice? Do you not like this choice? Actually, no. We need to divvy up who actually makes a comment about this. If you are an NFL fan, you are not Latino in any way, and you do not speak Spanish, you only speak English, how do you feel about this decision? And who would you prefer to be there? That's who I want to hear from in the comment section. Everybody else, you got too many biases. We need to get the people that do not have any bias leanings to answer this question. Let me know in the comments, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm going to see you on the next one.